Can you even imagine it? Leaving absolutely everything behind. Your home, your country, your entire world as you know it. Well, today we're going to dive into the incredible story of a community that did exactly that. They embarked on this monumental pilgrimage from the frozen plains of Canada all the way to the deserts of Mexico, with little more to guide them than their faith. And this line right here, written by a man named Jakob Friesen. I mean, this says it all, doesn't it? It's not just a sentence, it's the heart of their entire journey. We go now only by faith. It's this total commitment, a leap into a future that was a complete and total unknown. All right, so picture this. It's a cold, gray morning in a place called Plum Coulee, Canada. For hundreds of Mennonite families, this is it. This isn't just a trip, it's a total uprooting. See, new laws were coming in that threatened their whole way of life, forcing their kids into public schools. So as the train's steam hits that frigid air, they're catching their very last glimpses of the only home they've ever known. And inside those packed train cars, surrounded by crates and all their belongings, that rhythmic clatter of the wheels, that sound became their whole world. It wasn't just noise, It was this steady, constant beat, almost like a mechanical hymn carrying them further and further away from everything familiar. You have to understand, this was way more than just a train. It was literally a village on rails, an entire self-contained community. Families, their livestock, all their worldly possessions, just rolling across a continent. Can you imagine seeing that? Farmers out in the American plains would just stop what they were doing and stare at this incredible solemn procession rolling by. People on the outside, they really had no idea what to make of them. Newspapers actually started calling them the Pilgrims of Peace. And it kind of fits, right? These quiet folks in their simple clothes, singing hymns from the open doors of the train. The station masters could only gawk, seeing something so completely out of the ordinary. Now, think about the kids. At night, with everyone crammed together on these hard wooden benches, you just hear their whispers in the dark, simple questions. But they were trying to map out a future that, honestly, none of the adults could really describe to them either. So while the kids are full of questions and uncertainty, the adults, well, they're turning to something else for answers. By the dim light of a lantern, Jakob Friesen would read from the Bible. And those words from Psalm 121, they weren't just words on a page. For them, that was their compass, their anchor in this huge unknown journey. So as this train keeps rolling south, the whole world outside their windows starts to change. I mean, dramatically. The journey itself becomes this slow reveal of just how far they're truly going, from the Canada they knew to something else entirely. And the difference was just wow. Think about it. They left a world of snow-covered ground, frosted-up windows, and those familiar grain elevators. And what were they heading into? Shimmering heat, windows thrown wide open, and bizarre plants like cactus lining the tracks. It must have felt like a completely different planet. There's this one moment at a stop in Kansas that just sums it all up. A young American soldier walks up and asks one of them, "Where are you folks headed?" And the answer, in halting English, is just 2 words: to freedom. That's it. That's the whole reason for this epic, difficult journey. It was about the freedom to live and worship the way they believed they were meant to. And then, they're there. At the very edge, they get to El Paso, Texas, step out of the train, and for the very first time, they see it with their own eyes. Across the river, there it is, Mexico. The place they'd been dreaming of, praying for, the promised land. Crossing that border, that wasn't just about moving from one spot on a map to another. Oh no, this was a huge, formal moment. This was the point of no return. This was them saying goodbye to the old world for good. And it all unfolds like a ceremony. First, you have the customs officers going down their lists, then that heavy thump of the stamp on their papers, in both Spanish and English. The train whistle blows one last long time, and then that slow, heavy lurch as the train finally starts moving across the bridge, carrying them over into a brand new life. And what they saw on the other side must have been just breathtaking. It was like stepping back in time, into a landscape straight out of the Bible. You've got these mountains rising up like stone cathedrals, the air is dry and shimmering, adobe villages, and little barefoot kids waving as the train goes by. But hold on, they're not done yet. The last part of the trip takes them right through the Sierra Madre, into a beautiful but harsh desert. This wasn't some easy paradise they'd arrived in. No, this was a barren land that will become the final test of their faith and their sheer will to endure. And their resilience through this, it's just unbelievable. The dust from the desert got into everything. It coated their faces, their hair, even the pages of their hymn books. But did they stop singing? No way. Those hymns just kept rising out of the train cars, a testament to a spirit that just would not break. So after more than a week of constant travel, covering thousands of miles, it finally happens. The journey comes to an end. On the morning of March 8th, 1922, the train screeches to a stop in this high, windy valley. They're here. They've made it. And as they climb down from that train, blinking in the bright sun, they get the first real, physical proof that everything has changed. Their boots, they sink into warm, dry dust, not cold snow. In that single moment, they feel that they are in a completely new world. And in that quiet moment of arrival, Jakob Friesen kneels down. He just scoops up a handful of that dusty earth and whispers, "This is the land the Lord has given us." All those years of prayer, that whole grueling week on the train, it all comes down to this one single moment. The promise is finally real. Now, don't picture them as some triumphant group of conquerors. They were absolutely exhausted. They were hungry. And they were facing a future that was still so uncertain. But, and this is the most important part, they were alive, and they were together. The community had survived the journey intact. You know, their story, a story of faith and dust, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? It pushes us to ask a really big question. What does it take to trade everything you know for a promise? What kind of belief, what kind of conviction does that require? It's a question that goes way beyond their story, and it's definitely something to think about.